What if I told you that the most powerful off-grid lighting secret in America has been hiding in plain sight for over 200 years, and it costs you absolutely nothing, not a dollar, not a cent, just something most of you threw in the recycling bin this morning? Stay with me for the next few minutes, because what I am about to show you is going to completely change the way you think about survival lighting, emergency preparedness, and the forgotten genius of the Amish community. This is Hidden Life Hacks, and today we are going behind the scenes of one of the most brilliantly simple lantern systems ever devised by human hands. Now, before we go any further, if you are new here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button right now and tap the bell. I drop videos every week that show you practical, real-world skills that most people have completely forgotten. Skills that could one day save you money, save your life, or just make you the most prepared person in the room. Smash that like button too. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who need this information. All right, let us get into it. Here is the thing that blew my mind when I first learned about this. The Amish do not think about trash the way we do. When they look at a rusted tin can sitting in a pile of junk, they do not see garbage. They see raw material. They see potential. They see hours of warm, golden light that can illuminate a barn, a workshop, a kitchen table, or an emergency shelter, all without a single battery, without a single drop of store-bought fuel, and without any modern technology whatsoever. This is called the trash-to-light method, and it has been quietly passed down through Amish communities for generations. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a winter storm just knocked out the power in your neighborhood. The roads are iced over, the stores are closed, your phone battery is at 12%, and your kids are sitting in the dark, scared, asking you what to do next. What do you reach for? Most people in that moment realize they have absolutely nothing useful. But the Amish family, 2 miles down the road, they are sitting around a warm table, their handcrafted tin can lanterns glowing steadily, completely unbothered. That is the kind of self-reliance we are talking about today. So let us talk about the actual process. The real, step-by-step method behind turning a rusted tin can into a fully functional off-grid lantern. And I want to be clear, this is not a craft project. This is not something you make and put on a shelf for decoration. This is a working, reliable light source that Amish families have used for real, everyday tasks. Cooking, reading, working in the barn after sundown, writing letters. This thing works, and it works well. The first thing you need to understand is why tin cans are so perfect for this. Steel, even when it is rusted and corroded and looks completely worthless, is still an excellent heat conductor and a surprisingly effective light reflector. When you shape a tin can correctly, the interior surface bounces and amplifies light in a way that is genuinely impressive. A single small flame inside a properly constructed tin lantern can throw usable light across a surprisingly large area. The rust does not matter. The dents do not matter. The age does not matter. The material still performs. Now, the Amish do not just punch a few random holes in a can and call it a lantern. There is actual craft and intentionality behind their designs. The placement of the ventilation holes, the size and angle of the light opening, the height at which the fuel source sits. All of these details have been refined over generations of practical daily use. This is not guesswork. This is accumulated wisdom, and it shows. Let me walk you through the most commonly used Amish tin can lantern design. The one you can replicate tonight with nothing more than what you probably already have at home. You're going to need one large tin can. A coffee can or a large soup can works perfectly. You're going to need something to punch holes with, which could be a nail and a hammer or even a sturdy screwdriver. You will need some kind of fuel, and this is where it gets really interesting because the Amish use several different fuel sources depending on what is available. And you're going to need a wick, which we will talk about in a moment. Start with your tin can. If it is rusted, do not clean it. Seriously, leave the rust alone. The texture actually helps with grip and with heat distribution. What you do want to do is remove any paper labels and make sure the inside of the can is free of any food residue because you do not want old tomato sauce sizzling inside your lantern. Rinse it, let it dry completely, and now you have your base. Next comes the design stage. The Amish approach this with intention. On the side of the can that will face away from you, the back, you want to punch a series of small ventilation holes near the bottom. These holes serve a critical function. They feed oxygen to your flame from below, which keeps the burn steady and prevents the flame from starving out. Without airflow from below, your flame will flicker and die. With it, you get a strong, consistent burn that can last for hours. On the front of the can, the side facing you, the side that will direct light toward where you need it, you cut a larger opening. This is your light window. The Amish typically cut a half-moon shape or a rectangular opening about 2/3 of the way up the front of the can. This opening does two things simultaneously. It lets light project outward in a focused direction, and it gives you access to your wick and fuel source for adjustments. The size of this opening affects how much light comes out and in which direction. A smaller opening gives you a more focused directional beam. A larger opening gives you softer, more ambient light that spreads wider. Now here's where the real Amish ingenuity kicks in, and this part genuinely surprised me when I first learned it. The fuel source. You might be thinking they use candles, right? And yes, candles work, but the traditional Amish method often uses rendered animal fat, specifically lard or tallow, because it burns cleaner than you would expect, produces very little smoke when done correctly, and is essentially free on a working farm. But here is the thing that makes this relevant to you, even if you do not live on a farm. The same principle works with cooking oil, vegetable oil, olive oil, coconut oil, even used cooking oil that you would normally throw away. That greasy stuff sitting in a jar next to your stove, that is lantern fuel. The wick is the next critical element, and this is where I see most people make mistakes when they try to replicate this at home. The Amish use twisted cotton, often repurposed from old clothing, worn out cotton rope, or even unraveled cotton twine. The key is that the wick must be pure cotton or a natural fiber. Synthetic materials will melt, smoke, smell terrible, and potentially release toxic fumes. Do not use them. Pure cotton absorbs oil efficiently through capillary action, draws it upward to the flame at just the right rate, and burns with a clean, steady light. Cut a strip of old cotton fabric about 1/2 inch wide and several inches long, twist it tightly, and you have a professional-grade Amish wick. Place a small metal container inside your tin can. A tuna can, a small jar lid, or even a folded piece of aluminum foil shaped into a little dish, and fill it with your oil. Thread your cotton wick through a small hole in a piece of metal that will hold it in place, allowing just a 1/4 inch or so of wick to extend above the surface of the oil. Lower the whole assembly into your larger tin can. The oil-filled container should sit on the bottom of the can, stable and level. Now when you light that wick, the capillary action draws oil up continuously, and you have a self-sustaining flame that will burn as long as there is oil in that reservoir. Here is something the Amish figured out that modern preppers often overlook. The shape of the interior of the can dramatically affects the quality of light. If you take a moment to slightly flatten the back interior of the can, you can do this carefully with a wooden dowel, or even the handle of a spoon. You create a parabolic-like reflective surface that bounces more light forward. It is a crude version of the same principle behind the reflectors in modern flashlights and headlamps. The Amish did not have the physics textbook to explain it, but they figured out through observation and experimentation that shaping the back surface gave them more usable light from the same flame. Now I want to talk about something that most survival channels skip right over, and it is probably the most important safety element of this entire build: ventilation. A tin can lantern is burning fuel and consuming oxygen. In an enclosed space, this matters. The Amish have always been aware of this. They typically use these lanterns in barns and large kitchens with high ceilings or near open windows. The ventilation holes at the bottom of your lantern design are not just for feeding the flame. They also ensure that combustion gases escape upward through the top of the can, rather than pooling inside an enclosed room. Always use these lanterns in ventilated spaces. Crack a window. Never leave them burning unattended. Never place them near anything flammable. These are not modern safety warnings added by lawyers. These are the same common sense rules the Amish have followed for 2 centuries. By the way, if you are still watching at this point, I want you to drop a comment right now. Just type the word lantern in the comments below. 1, it tells me you found this video valuable. 2, it tells the YouTube algorithm that real people are engaging with this content, which helps me keep making these deep dive skill videos for free. And 3, I read every single comment personally, so if you have questions or want me to cover a specific variation of this build in a future video, tell me in the comments. Let us talk about variations, because the basic tin can lantern is just the beginning. The Amish community has developed several specialized versions of this design over the generations, each optimized for a specific use case. The hanging lantern version uses a can with holes punched all the way around for ambient barn lighting, suspended from a hook or beam. The directional work lantern, which is what we described in detail above, projects light in a single focused direction, perfect for reading, writing, or detailed handwork. And then there is the storm lantern modification, which adds a secondary tin shield around the outside of the main can, creating an insulating air gap that allows the lantern to stay lit even in windy conditions. This is the version you want if you are outdoors or in a drafty shelter. There is also a brilliant Amish trick for making these lanterns last significantly longer on a single filling of oil. They add a small pinch of salt to the oil reservoir. Now, salt does not actually burn. What it does is stabilize the flame by slightly adjusting the viscosity of the oil near the wick, which reduces the rate at which the oil is drawn upward. The result is a slower, more controlled burn that can extend your burn time by 20 to 30% without reducing light output in any meaningful way. That is not a folktale. That is basic fluid dynamics that the Amish discovered through practical observation long before anyone put it in a chemistry textbook. Another variation worth knowing is the multi-wick Amish lantern. For situations where you need significantly more light, illuminating a larger work area, lighting a full room during an extended power outage. The Amish sometimes use a wider container, like a large coffee can with 3 or 4 wicks arranged in a circle around a central oil reservoir. The combined output of multiple small flames is surprisingly powerful, and the circular arrangement creates light that radiates in all directions, rather than projecting in a single beam. Think of it as a homemade oil lamp chandelier, Amish style. Now, here's something I want you to think about seriously for a moment. We live in a world where we are completely dependent on infrastructure that we have zero control over: the power grid, the fuel supply chain, the battery supply chain. If any of those systems experience a disruption, whether it is a storm, an earthquake, a cyber attack on the electrical grid, or any number of other scenarios that experts have been warning about for years, most of us are sitting in the dark within hours. The Amish do not have that vulnerability. They never built that dependency into their lives. They have maintained these ancient, simple, reliable skills precisely because they understood something that our modern culture has forgotten. The most resilient systems are the ones that do not depend on anything you cannot make yourself. And here's the beautiful irony. The Amish are not behind the times. They are ahead of them. In a world where the complexity of our technological infrastructure becomes more fragile with every passing year, the person who can make light from a tin can and cooking oil is not a primitive. They are the most prepared person in the room. I want to give you one more incredibly practical piece of information before we wrap up, and this is something almost nobody talks about. The rust on those old tin cans is not a problem, but for long-term lantern use, you can actually coat the inside of your can with a thin layer of aluminum foil, shiny side facing inward, to dramatically improve reflectivity and extend the life of your lantern. The foil conforms to the shape of the can perfectly, reflects far more light than bare steel, and can be replaced easily when it gets discolored from heat and smoke. This is a modern adaptation that works beautifully with the traditional Amish design, and it is the kind of upgrade that takes a 5-minute project from functional to genuinely impressive. I also want to mention the handles. Amish lanterns almost always have a handle because a lantern you can carry safely is infinitely more useful than one you have to pick up by the hot body. Take a piece of wire. Old coat hanger wire is perfect. Thread it through 2 small holes punched on opposite sides of the can near the top, and bend it into a loop handle above the lantern. You now have something you can hang from a nail, carry through a dark hallway, or set down on a flat surface with stability. Add a small piece of rubber tubing or wrapped cloth on the handle grip, and you will not burn your hand even when the can is warm from extended use. All right, we are getting close to the end of this video, and I want to make sure you walk away with the full picture. Let me recap the core principles one more time, because this is information worth locking into your memory. Rusted tin cans, regardless of their condition, are a legitimate and effective lantern building material. Cooking oil? Any plant-based cooking oil? There is a viable, clean-burning lamp fuel that most households already have on hand. Pure cotton fabric scraps make excellent functional wicks. The design of your holes and openings determines whether you get directional light or ambient light, and both have their uses. The salt trick extends burn time. Aluminum foil dramatically improves light output. Ventilation is always required, and a wire handle turns a stationary light source into a portable one. This is the kind of knowledge that the Amish have carried across generations, not because it is romantic or nostalgic, but because it works. It works when the power is out. It works when the stores are closed. It works when the batteries are dead and the solar panel is buried under snow. It works because it is based on physics and chemistry that do not care whether civilization is functioning or not. Fire and oil and cotton and tin, these things will always work together. If you got value from this video, here's what I want you to do right now. First, share this video with one person in your life who you think should know this skill. Not because of doom and gloom, but because this is genuinely useful, interesting knowledge that deserves to be kept alive. Second, subscribe to Hidden Life Hacks if you have not already. I cover skills exactly like this every single week, and you do not want to miss what is coming up next. Third, drop a comment telling me what skill you want me to cover next. I take those requests seriously, and I build my content calendar around what this community actually needs. And speaking of what is coming up next, I'm working on a follow-up video that is going to blow your mind. We are going deeper into Amish off-grid systems, and the next technique involves something you have probably never even considered as a survival tool. I am not going to tell you what it is yet, but if you liked this video, that one is going to be even better. Make sure you are subscribed and have the bell notification turned on so you do not miss it the day it drops. The Amish have been sitting on this knowledge for 2 centuries. We are just getting started uncovering it together. I will see you in the next one.